The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They stream all UK and Irish racing live on your mobile, tablet or PC.
Hello and welcome to the first Racing Postcast of 2017. I'm your host today, Tom Kerr, and I'm joined here in the studio by the one and only Nick Watts. Hi Nick, how are you?
Hello Tom, yeah, very well.
Lovely stuff. And on the phone we've got Brian Sheeran over in Ireland.
Happy New Year, lads.
Happy New Year to you as well. And the legendary Paul Benfield as well from Paddy Power. How are you, Paul?
I'm very well. Happy New Year, Tom, Racing Journalist of the Year. It's an honour. It's an honour to be talking to you.
Thank you. I do insist on my full title, absolutely. Well, welcome, guys. Welcome. Did you all have a good New Year's yourself, Nick?
Yeah, it was mostly the Yuletide period. There's a lot of work and not enough play. But the times I was out of the office, it was all good fun. Yeah, so very, very enjoyable.
Absolutely. And Ben, you'll have been absolutely kicking it up on night in the tiles until well into the early hours of yesterday, eh?
Yeah, we had a good night out in Cheltenham on New Year's Eve. A bit quieter than I expected, but at least you were able to get to the bar, Tommy. And I was just surprised not to see you stumbling around in the early hours of the morning.
Well, you weren't looking hard enough, as obviously, because I was definitely making my presence felt wherever I was. I can't tell you exactly where that is. And yourself, Brian, you have a good celebrations?
Yeah, it was rather indulgent, as always. It was kept quite busy, so didn't get to indulge too much. So it's quite good, yeah.
Good man. Well, I hope we weren't all too hungover to at least watch the opening day of racing coverage on ITV, of course, taken over from Channel 4 after 32 years. A big move for the sport and a big moment for the ITV lineup of Ed Chamberlain, Tony McCoy, Luke Harvey and so on. So what did we all think about it? Start with yourself, Nick. Did you catch it?
Yeah, I did. I watched it yesterday. I was very positive about it. I thought it was a good start. I thought there's a few things they did well. I thought that them working outside was good. I know it was horrible for them probably because the weather was foul, but I thought it was better than being in a truck, in the studio, which kind of takes away from the atmosphere of the day rather than adds to it. And, there's a few things we've got to bear in mind. We're trying to attract a new audience, new people, as well as keeping the existing ones. So that they probably explained a few things which, to us racing people, we'd know very easily.
A mare is a female horse.
Exactly. So it could have seemed a bit simplistic at times. But, we've also got to bear in mind that, to most people, we talk a peculiar language that they don't really or may not understand. So to get those new people, I think it's important just to bring it down a peg or two rather than have too much technical info to start with. There's always going to be little glitches here and there on a first day out or whatever, but overwhelmingly positive for me. I thought it was good. And, the people moaning on Twitter, they've got to be a little bit careful. Racing's very lucky to have a terrestrial presence, and we should all be grateful for that. And if it vanished, then we'd all be in a lot of trouble. So they should be careful what they wish for.
Yeah, some good points there. I've just seen the viewing figures, actually, for ITV Racing, and I think it peaked at something like 850,000 people. So obviously that is, it's a huge audience. Like you say, you've got to cater for the people in there who don't know as much about racing as we do. What was your impression over in Ireland, Brian? You guys could catch it, couldn't you?
Yeah, well, we were at Tramore. Well, I was at Tramore, and
okay.
We were kind of dipping in between that and Fairy House as well. But I'd echo those sentiments. I thought it was quite a solid start from what I did see. I saw the feature with John O'Neill. I thought that was very good. And look, Nick Luck is going to be a tough act to follow, but I think Ed Chamberlain, he started off life in the game. He was an odds compiler when it was one of the toughest things out there. There was no video replays when he started off in the game. And Matt Chapman, he's a bit of a guilty pleasure for many. I think it's going to be inclusive for not just the racing fan, the hardcore racing fan, but I think it's going to be inclusive. And above all, that's the most important thing to broaden the appeal, I think.
Yeah, and there were lots of attempts, some successful, some not, that to introduce a bit of levity into it, which is something which people always thought was lacking on Channel 4. Paul, what did you think of it, both from that perspective and also, with your bookmaker hat on as a sort of betting? Did they convey the betting side of it well? Do you think that side worked?
To be honest with you, Tom, I think it's a bit unfair for me to make any comment on the show because I was down at Cheltenham. So didn't really see. I maybe a couple of minutes, if that. I would say, though, it's a shame that Luke Harvey's not a bit better looking. Some of us in racing are well aware that we're suited to racing postcasts and handing out bits of paper, but not for the big screen.
Yeah, well, you're lucky. You're just on the phone. We've got a camera in front of us in the studio here, and are acutely aware of how ridiculous we look. So you've got the right idea. You've managed to thaw yourself out, though. It looked pretty chilly at Cheltenham, Paul.
Yeah, it was really chilly. It was funny. I left my accommodation at 9:15 in the morning, and it was fairly temperate and a nice temperature, and it just seemed to get colder and colder during the day. The rain was coming down for a lot of it as well, and those race goers who did brave the conditions, well done to them. It really was a national hunt day, if ever there was one.
It certainly was. Well, let's turn to the action at Cheltenham. Let's start with what I thought was perhaps the day's best story, which was Lizzie Kelly riding a nice double. She's had a very quiet season after sort of bursting on into the mainstream last year, but she did well yesterday. I thought gave Agripart a fantastic ride to get up in the feature at Cheltenham. What did you think of it, Nick? Do you think Agripart could be an outside shot for the stayers?
No, not really. I think there's quite a few I'd prefer before Agripart came into the equation. But, I mean, I think you're right just to take the results in isolation. It was a really good day for Lizzie Kelly. I hadn't quite realised how quiet a season she'd had until it was explained yesterday. I think that was her second and third wins of the season, maybe.
Yeah, I thought maybe a couple more than that, but very low single figures.
Yeah, exactly. Not many, but she showed how effective she is in the finish. Got up and beat Daryl Jacob. Lammy Surge looks like he's travelling all over Agripart, but she did really well on that. And difficult conditions, as we mentioned at Cheltenham yesterday. So, yeah, great for Lizzie. Great story for ITV to pick up on their first day, her riding a double. I think in the longer term, does it mean that much? No, not really. I can't see Agripart figuring in the stayers hurdles. So well done to Lizzie. Great start to the year, but no kind of long-term, meaning, I don't think.
Paul, what's the bookies' verdict on this? I've got the markets page, the Racing Post here, and I don't think Agripart's even listed. What price have you got Agripart in at?
Well, we put him in at 33 to 1, Tom, right, after that great victory for Lizzie Kelly live on ITV. I agree with Nick. I don't think this horse will really figure in the World Hurdle. I think he needs soft ground. His 4 wins have come on soft, heavy, soft, and very soft. And I suppose if the ground at the festival did come up with a bit of cut, he'd go there with some sort of each-way chance. But I can't see it really myself.
Brian, any thoughts yourself? And I suppose there's a wider question. What's your take on the stayers hurdle at the moment?
I think Agripart needs soft ground. I was quite taken with Clondalk Warrior at Leopardstown over the Christmas behind Vroom Vroom. I think we'll probably come to her later, but I thought he advertises claims. He's just a horse that keeps on giving. Winner Royal Ascot, he won the Galway Hurdle. He's classy in both codes, but he looks now that he does stay 3 miles. I would probably guess that Katie Walsh thought she was going to catch Vroom Vroom Mag up the run in the stayers hurdle, or the Financial Square Christmas hurdle at Leopardstown. So at double figure prices, he'd be the one that I'd be kind of looking at. You know what I mean, Harry? Sets the benchmark up there, but with question marks around the rest of the field, whether Faugheen will run, Vroom Vroom Mag should probably take in the mares, I don't know. Look at Clondalk Warrior, looks an each-way bet for me at this stage.
Right, we'll be coming back to Vroom Vroom Mag later on, but sticking with Cheltenham for the moment, another really impressive winner I thought was Whisper, who showed, as did most of the winners yesterday, fantastic sort of tenacity to get up in the dipper. Let's start with you, Nick. What's your thoughts on what could be the target for Whisper, and were you impressed?
I was impressed, yeah. There was a couple of fences he didn't quite meet spot on in the middle of the race, and he thought he was on the back foot here because Clandezovo was going really nicely and jumping very well. But Davy Russell, brilliant jockey, gave him plenty of time, found his rhythm again, and he was good when it mattered the last couple of fences, and that's where Clandezovo, did unravel for him because he made that mistake, I think, 2 out. As for targets, Nicky Henderson mentioned the JLT afterwards, and I suppose he could do either because he's won the big hurdle at Aintree over 3 miles, so he does stay further. He could go for the RSA. It'd be an unusual winner because he is 9 years old already. That's late for a novice. He's been around for a few seasons now. I suppose the only thing that puts you off, if you're thinking of backing him for the JLT, is Nicky Henson's got such strength in the race, and you don't quite know how he's going to shuffle the pack. He's got Bouver Dare, who won at the weekend as well, who could well be an Arkle horse, but could equally be a JLT horse. How he's going to shuffle the pack, this is the question for so many horses, and there's so many conundrums to try and sort out. I mean, I thought York Hill was dead set to go for the Arkle, and then I saw Min at Christmas. I thought, God, he looked pretty good. So will that mean he goes to the JLT? Now, this race could change so much, and Whisper, he's been to Cheltenham and done it a couple of times now, so yeah, he's somewhere in the mix. Is he at the top of my list? Probably not at this stage, but still a good performance.
What about Glanders Oboe, Nick? What happens now?
I wouldn't be surprised if Paul Nicholls swerved Cheltenham completely. He's made it known that he thinks this is a really, really good long-term project. He says he won't be over-racing this season, doesn't want him to do too much. Does his defeat yesterday diminish his prospects at all? Absolutely not. I thought for 99% of the race he was absolutely foot perfect. It was just that one mistake at a crucial stage which did for him. He's still a cracking long-term prospect and very much one to look forward to.
Brian, turning back to Whisper, I hope you caught it. I thought it was a fantastic ride by Davey, wasn't it?
Yeah, look at Davey. It's just, I've seen him time and time again here in Ireland. But look at Whisper going forward. I'd be surprised if Glanders Oboe doesn't turn out to be the better of the two. He battled well, Whisper. He seems to be around for a long time, only a 9-year-old. But look at Davy Russell. No one needs to be telling it how good a jockey Davy Russell is. It's going to be good for the British fans to be able to see him a little bit more now on your shores that he's teaming up over there. But look, Whisper, for me, I wouldn't be backing him for anything at Cheltenham just yet. I think the JLT is quite a strong race.
Oh, what's the betting on the RSA JLT? What where are you placing Whisper and Glanders Oboe?
Well, we cut Whisper to 12 from 20 for the RSA and put him into the JLT betting at 14 to 1, Tom. I think he probably will be a JLT horse. Nick is right. He has won twice over 3 miles at Aintree, but I think that's quite a bit of an easier track. So I'd say JLT, although Nick also made a good point about Bouver Dare being in there unchanged at 7 to 1, so right up in the market. Glanders Oboe, a little bit more of an outsider for both races at 20 to 1, but if Whisper stepped up to the RSA, he could still have a decent chance in the JLT, and he didn't do much wrong coming up against 1-2 good at Cheltenham.
Before we move on from Cheltenham, any other standout performances, guys? Brian, you first.
Shantou Flyer, obviously we know a lot about Shantou Flyer from his time spent over here with Colin Bowe. I wonder, would any the connections, obviously I wasn't at Cheltenham, I wonder was any talk of the National for him after his win?
I don't know.
There was, yeah. Rebecca Curtis said that could well be the aim. So, yeah, with that in mind, it was a good comeback. First run since the Galway Plate, wasn't it? So she's done well, not just to get him back but to get him back fit enough to win. That was a great training performance.
Paul, yourself, any standout performances?
I did like Kustar Sivela, the first.
Yeah,
first
other Lizzie one, yeah.
Yeah, first of Lizzie Kelly's winners yesterday. We put that one in at 33 to 1 for the Neptune, obviously said. Also, in our opinion, probably not good enough at the moment, but seems to have improved from last season. Plenty of nice races to be won, and looks to me like he'll be a lovely chaser in the making.
And just before we move on, Nick, Willie Twiston Davies, of course, came back over, and he had, after a long spell riding on the flat, he had a winner back over the jumps again. Do you think we might see him making a permanent move into this sphere now? Yeah,
I hope so. I mean, he was good a few years ago, wasn't he? He had a very unlucky, I think it was in the Fox Hunters on Baby Run, where he looked set to win, and I think it came down very near the end of the race, and they made amends and won at Aintree. Listen, there's probably got more out of that yesterday than trekking around the likes of Sutherland and Wolverhampton in the winter. So, and he looked very, very good, very stylish. Yeah. So, yeah, let's hope we do.
Absolutely. I think he said that afterwards. He said, it gets a bit depressing going around Wolverhampton in the middle of winter, and you can certainly appreciate that. Well, that's Cheltenham wrapped up. We'll just have a quick message from our sponsors, and we'll be back in a minute.
Get instant access to your winnings with Cashcard Plus, Paddy's brand new card, available to use at ATMs, online or in shops. T&Cs apply. 18+, gambleaware.co.uk.
It's back already, as it wasn't a minute, was it? No, it's short. If only all commercial breaks were short as racing post-commercial breaks. Fantastic. Well, let's continue with what we had on Sunday. Superb story up at Musselburgh. We had a couple of races on ITV from there in their big New Year's Day card. I don't know how anyone in Edinburgh actually gets up to go to that, having had done a few Edinburgh Hogmanay. But fair play to them, and some good racing and a nice day up there. Superb story was the story. Apparently going to be aimed at the champion hurdle. What do you reckon to that, Nick?
Yeah, you should go for it. I'd implore anyone, any trainer out there who's got something about 25 to 1, and looking at the likes of Brain Power, those kind of horses, and Superb Story as well, Chitibello as well, maybe for Dan Skelton to have a crack, because there's so much uncertainty in the market, isn't there? Annie Power and Faheen, we haven't seen yet. Matt Chapman at the end of the ITV Racing essay was imploring Willie Mullins to tell us how they both are and when we might see them again. But no news on that yet. But yeah, there is a lot of uncertainty. Yanworth's win over Christmas, probably, you could take that either way as a positive or a negative. So I think with horses like Superb Story, who are round about on the fringes, why not have a crack? It's one of those years where it could just open up in your favour.
Ryan, what did you think? Did you catch the race?
Yeah, I caught it. Yeah, and look at it. If the race was run in the morning, you'd definitely run him with so much uncertainty at the head of the betting. It's just kind of, we're trying to gaze into the future and trying to read Willie Mullins' mind. It's just it's not it's quite a tricky thing to do. I just thought one interesting thing out of Leopardstown, a horse that actually didn't turn up at Leopardstown, but Jeski. He's going to make his reappearance in the Irish Champion Hurdle at the end of this month. He's not even quoted in the market. And just in an open year, I know he's proved himself over 3 miles when he hurricane, like the last time we saw him at Punchestown. But I wonder if, former Champion Hurdle winner, would they be tempted to run him in the Champion Hurdle? Or, would you know what I mean, Harry, in the World Hurdle? If it came up such an open race as we think it's going to be, would they think of running Jeski, who's not even quoted in the market at the moment? Anyone, any ideas?
I sincerely hope not, because I really fancy him for the World Hurdle. Very disappointing not to see him over Christmas, although from what Jessica Harrington said, he might just not have been quite ready. And maybe this is just the only suitable race he can run in. But, I mean, on his last stab at it, he was, beaten 8 or 9 lengths by Faheen, so you wouldn't have thought he was good enough anymore. But it's interesting, like you said, and it's put a bit of a worry at the back of my mind that that's the way they're thinking, so we'll just have to see what happens.
Sorry about that.
No.
Paul, let's put you on the spot now. What would Jeski be in the champion hurdle market?
I don't really know about that, Tommy, but I do see we have him in at 12 to 1 for the World Hurdle. I personally wouldn't have a shilling on him. After one of my colleagues had him in the World Hurdle last year at double the price that we were going, and I had a shifty €20 with him, anti-post, and of course never got a run for my money. So I won't be backing him, Tom.
So, Brian, you're saying you're trying to guess Willie Mullins' mind about all this starts. Have you got any information for us? What's going on there? What is the latest? Can we put you on the spot here and discover the information we all want to know?
Look, Willie made no secret that his horses were probably just a little bit slow to fire. We saw the Christmas he's had, and I think if you were following Faheen or Annie Power, you're probably going to get a little bit more confidence in the fact that he's had such a good Christmas. And I saw many people tweeting after Christmas, Willie hasn't gone away, and things like that. But look, Annie Power, the vibes was at the start of the year that Annie Power would be his champion hurdle horse. Faheen would be stepping up to the World Hurdle, trying to second guess what he's going to run. We haven't seen these horses yet. We don't know, and he's been keeping quite tight-lipped, and I wouldn't blame him because, the less is said, the better. Let the horses do the talking, which they did over the Christmas period. So I think, look, we're just going to have to be patient. I know it's the wait just keeps on going on, but hopefully we'll see these champion hurdle winners out sooner rather than later. But I don't know is the simple answer.
He's had a absolutely remarkable sort of festive period, Willie, hasn't he? I mean, to come, how many winners did he have over the few days?
22, I think.
22. I mean,
across Limerick and Leopardstown. Yeah.
Yeah. What about the Irish Trainers' Championship, Ryan? That's quite an interesting one there. I mean, Gordon's obviously he streaked off into a nice lead early doors, but Willie's clawed him in massively over the last the last few days, basically.
Yeah, the last time we put it to Gordon about the Trainers' Championship, he said he'd want to be $1 million ahead of Willie Mullins heading into Punchestown, and That's exactly it. He learned the hard way when he started off training, when he was he was talking up Don Cossack, and I think he got a bit of a bollocking off the O'Leary. So I think he learned the hard way that just to kind of play things down. But look, he is bang there into contention. But obviously, we know Willie Mullins targets Punchestown. It's really after serving up to make Irish racing even a little bit more interesting. It was farmed last year by Mullins with Gigginstown runners as well in his stable, and with them most of them going to Gordon Elliott. It's you look over the Christmas period, you saw Petty Mukar winning the big race, beating the Nichols Canyon. It's a lot more interesting now, and you saw Apples Jade beating Broom Broom Mag. Just long may it continue. It's kind of refreshing if you were to ask me.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that just adds to the competitiveness of racing is always got to be a good thing. Just before we move on from the weekend, can we just one from each of you perhaps? Any eye catchers from the weekend? Nick, first of all.
Yeah, one. I was at Newbury on Saturday, and the horse called Roman de Senam of Paul Nichols's didn't actually win. He finished third behind one of Oliver Sherwood's, whose name escapes me, but it was his second run over fences, and he's running quite. He's new to it in fences. His second start, and he ran quite well. Finished second behind Top Notch on his debut at Plumpton, and I wouldn't be surprised if he improved quite a lot in the spring. Good ground, big field handicap. That's where we saw him last year when he almost won the Fred Winter. That's when he was at his best. So I would look out for him. I imagine he'd be somewhere like the Grand Annual of a nice weight. He's just kind of slipping under the radar at the moment, but keep him in mind for the spring festivals.
Thanks, Nick. Paul, yourself?
Yeah, Missouri de Zobo, Tom, won the Cello Novices Hurdle for Alan King. Somebody at Cheltenham who might know told me yesterday that someone connected to the yard at the beginning of the season had told him that this was the best horse in the yard. He's still 12-1 for the Neptune Novices Hurdle, and with the likes of Yanworth in there as well, it's an interesting thing that I was told. Whether it's true or not, who knows?
Yeah. And Brian, anything over from Fairyhouse Tremor?
Yeah, well, after 4 days of Leopardstown and Limerick and then Fairyhouse and Tremor, it was a bit different. But I think there was a horse running in a handicap hurdle there called Top of the Ra. I think it was the 130 race at Fairyhouse. I think on good ground, maybe he could pop up in a big handicap hurdle before too long for, I think it's Tom Mullins. So Top of the Ra might be, I think he went off favourite as well, but on better ground, he might be one that will pop up in a big handicap hurdle before too long.
Great stuff. Thanks so much. We'll be back in just a moment. Another message from our sponsors.
Get instant access to your winnings with Cashcard Plus, Paddy's brand new card, available to use at ATMs, online or in shops. TNCs apply. 18 plus. Gambleaware.co.uk.
Hello again. Let's look ahead now. Let's look to the rest of this week. What are we looking forward to? Any big bets coming up or anything particularly you're excited by, Nick?
I've drawn a blank. I was looking at this question before I came on. It's the Tolworth this weekend, which is always a good race, but I haven't seen the entries yet. I don't know what's running in it. So midweek fair, we were so spoilt last week, weren't we? And it's very low key this midweek. So no, there's nothing for me. I'm looking forward to the weekend racing, but I can't put a name out there for listeners.
It's a shocker today. I mean, it's a bank holiday and there's only 3 meetings. I don't know what's going on. I mean, Paul, you must be fuming about this. The bookmakers, you got a captive betting audience there, and racing's only put on 3 meetings for you.
Yeah, well, we've had the feast before the famine, haven't we, Tom? We've had such good racing over Christmas, Kempton and Leopardstown, and then the last couple of days, Newbury and Cheltenham. So we have had a feast. I haven't got a horse for you for this week, but a week on Friday, Curracundra Brendan Duke runs a horse called the Mouse Doctor. I thought he ran well over 7 furlongs last time at Dundalk, and he's going to step up to a mile there that night, I believe, and might be an each-way chance.
Good man. Brian, yourself, have you got one for us to look out for this week?
I don't particularly have a name just yet, but the Grade 1 Lawlers Hotel Novice Hurdle at Naas on Sunday, it's always a informative affair. Bell's Hill, I think, won it last year. You've had the likes of Death Duty, Crackmome, Augusta Kate, they're all entered. So we could see Gordon Elliott going toe-to-toe with Willie Mullins again in that Grade 1 on Sunday.
Staying with you, Brian, let's have a quick look back to some of the action at Leopardstown. We'll start with the Lexus. A great race, but what do you think of the form in particular? You know, is something coming out of there going to worry Thistle Crack or Don Cossack?
I think before the race, we were hoping either Jack Adam or Valserlido would go and do the business and put in an impressive display. I think we were pinning our hopes on that. And then there was a little bit of deflation when just because, you know, he hasn't set the world alight in his novice chase. I know he won a Grade 1 and all, but Don Poley, he looks like a Grand National horse. Jack Adam, to me, looked like he just couldn't follow up on his John Durkin win. I think maybe the time between probably was a little bit too quick, and I wouldn't write him off just yet. Zabana, he was a kind of a dark horse for the race, but he probably needs better ground. After the race, you're probably thinking our best chance of winning a Gold Cup lies with Don Cossack. The vibes are good, but he obviously has that cloud of an injury hanging over him, and whether he can come back to his best, time will tell. But it looks as though the British trained horses are more like Colin Tizard holds all the aces.
Yeah, what do you think, Nick? Don Cossack, 12-1 in places. Yeah, is that a tempting price to you?
It's not, purely because of as Brian mentioned, the fact we haven't seen him yet, and we don't quite know what form he's in. He's in good form at home, but there's a completely different story being in good form at home, jogging around Gordon Elliott's, than to having competitive hard action. So, yeah, I'd take a rain check on that one. But I mean, my thoughts after the Lexus were, fantastic finish, great to watch, but, disappointing that Jack Adam couldn't win. Although I would just raise a point about him. I just wonder if they're riding him wrongly at the moment. I can't have it that he doesn't stay. I think if you win a Thyestes and you finish placed in 2 Gold Cups, I think you're a stayer. I think they're just riding him wrong. Ruby Walsh had him in like 3rd or 4th throughout in that Lexus, and he jumped beautifully. But he's not a quickener. He's not going to quicken for you. He's not going to win a race with a turn of foot. What he's got is a good cruising speed and a good jump when he's on top form. And I just think you might see more use made of him next time. He might go off in the lead. He might, use that stride that he's got, use that good jump and set him off in front and see if he can keep them all at bay. Because I think riding him as they did in the Lexus for a kind of turn of foot, he hasn't got one. He's just a strong traveller, and he'll just keep staying at kind of one pace. And I'm not saying that'll be anywhere near enough to beat Thistlecrack. I think, I think he would have lapped those in the Lexus. I think he's just way clear of where they are in Ireland at the moment. Albeit not, I'm not including Don Cossack in that because obviously he's been injured. So, yeah. But what we saw in the Lexus, Thistlecrack would be sleeping easily. Colin Tizard would be sleeping easily. Native River could easily be the biggest danger to his own stablemate.
Yeah, Paul, give us a quick betting update on the Gold Cup and your analysis of the prospects for the Irish horses.
Well, we've got Thistlecrack in there at 11-10, Tom. The Lexus form, I think the bookies weren't that impressed. I think we cut him to 11-10 from 5-4. Nick just mentioned Native River could be his biggest danger. Stable Companion 7-1. Don Cossack 10. Jack Adam, Conagry and Outlander, the winner of the Lexus, all on 14. Having worked for Paddy for over a decade now, I consider myself a bit of a plastic Irishman. I don't think we have unfortunately got a huge Irish challenge if the Lexus form is right. Although saying that, Outlander, he ran well in the JLT last year. Last year now, and fell 4 out when still going quite well, and he was only 6-1, so he's quite highly regarded by the yard, I would imagine.
One aspect of Cheltenham I want to pick up on today before, we're going to have so much time to talk about the festival in coming weeks, but one angle I think is very, very interesting is Rim Rim Mag, who is entered in 6 races at the festival, which is about as versatile as you get. He's in the Stayers, Ryanair, Champion Chase, Mayors. Nick, where would you send her?
Well, Rich Ritchie after the race, he did drop a little clue, and he did bring the Ryanair into the equation, and you wouldn't be surprised to see her in that. Obviously, the way they use her, she is kind of, as they describe her, a super sub for any of their other horses that can't make it. Annie Power for Heen, so she could slot in anywhere, and that's the kind of infuriating thing from our point of view, is that until very, very close, until maybe even the Sunday, Monday before Cheltenham, we're not going to know exactly where she goes, pending the well-being of the other ones. So if she were mine and I had a free choice, then I'd be tempted to keep her over hurdles rather than go back chasing. That seems slightly risky to me at this stage. She's got used to running over hurdles, and she's very good at it. She could easily be a big player in the stayers. A lot of people said she kind of tied up at the end of that race and gave Clondal Warrior a chance, but it could have just been she was idling a little bit and had it sewn up. So I'd be tempted to run her in the stairs hurdle. I think it's just a bit of a risk going back to the Ryanair, but she could go anywhere. Who knows?
Brian, what do you think? Are you a fan?
Am I of Room?
Yes.
Big fan, yes. But if she was mine, I'd be going Ryanair. But if I was to have a bet where she will end up, it would probably be the Mare's Hurdle. That's where I think we'll probably see her.
Yeah, just sort of trying to maximise the firepower they have.
Yeah. But it's just worth mentioning that Let's Dance, although she's still a novice, Willie did mention that she could step up and trip as opposed to going for the 2 mile Mares Novice. Let's Dance obviously in Rich Ritchie's colours as well, and if she went for the Mares Hurdle, because obviously she was a juvenile last year, she has plenty of experience in the bag, vroom, that could pave the way for her going to something like the World Hurdle or something even bigger.
Okay, excellent. Before we call it a day, lads, it's a new year. We've got to do New Year's resolutions, of course. I've been thinking about mine. I'm thinking maybe I lose a bit of weight, maybe £1 weight. I think it might be my resolution for 2017.
That's a very modest aim, losing £1.
Yeah, but I think it needs to be realistic, doesn't it? Which might actually probably prove unrealistic, quite frankly. Nick, what's your? Have you got any resolutions?
I should probably try and lose about 7 if you're losing 1.
7.
So I'll go with that.
Oh, win a competition.
Half a stone, yeah.
Paul?
I think it's about time I gave up five-a-side football, Tommy. I'm playing against people 30 years younger than me now, and although I think I'm still faster than Usain Bolt on a five-a-side pitch, I think time is catching up.
What position do you play?
Central defender, and if anyone goes past me because of my lack of speed, they get a huge clout, Tom.
Well, absolutely. In Scottish football, they all say, you can go past me or the ball can go past me, but you'll not go past me together. And I think that's a good mantra. And finally, Brian, what's your New Year's resolution?
Well, I have a list as long as my arm, but the short and sweet answer is eat less and exercise more.
Wise words there, and absolutely one's worth following. Thanks very much for joining me, Brian, Paul Binfield and Nick Watts. I've been Tom Kerr, and this is a Racing Postcast. We'll be back on Friday with tipping for the weekend's action. Thanks for joining us, and have a fantastic 2017.
The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They price up all UK and Irish racing the night before.